and welcome back to the Hotline. We are talking BTCC Snetterton this very weekend, and what an interesting season we've had so far. We've had Tom Ingrand pretty much dominate the opening round in Donington. We had Turkington pretty much dominate the opening couple of races at Brands Hatch, but all throughout it's been Ash Sutton on the podium, I think pretty much every time from the top of my head. So really, really interesting stuff here. So let's get into the Snetterton track though, shall we? Yes, welcome to the Snetterton track. I'm just going to quickly that happened a lot quicker than I thought. So let's back it off a second. So here we go. Round the last corner, I believe this is the last corner of the Snetterton track, and we are on what's called, I believe it is called the Senna Straight. Hopefully we're going past the pits, I'd imagine, any minute now, into that first corner, which is I think called Montreal. Through Montreal we go, and it should be a left-hander, funny enough, called Palmer. I love the names. I love the names here. Left-hander called Palmer, and then as we come around, we get a really, really short straight into another corner called Agostini. Yep, just like yeah. There we go. This should be Agostini, and then as we turn around, another short straight should be like quite a fast left-hander now as we go into this is Hamilton, and then into quite a tight right-hander we go. It's a really long track called Oggies. Is it named after the minute I hear Oggies I think pasties, funnily enough. So another quick blip on the throttle into Williams, and then we have what's known as the Bentley Straight, which is I think probably longer than the start-finish straight, and into a corner which has an awesome name, just as awesome, into Brundle. Yeah, what a corner underneath the Snetterton Bridge, on the down on the left, into Brundle, then into Nelson, and then a really, really short straight, another turn called, believe it or not, Bomb Hole. Bomb as in B-O-M-B, and then into a long right-hander called Corn. This is almost a 3-mile circuit. I think this is the biggest, this is the longest circuit on the BTCC calendar then, as we go into Murray's in the left-hander to do it absolutely all again. Yep, past the pits to do it all again at BTCC in Snetterton. Absolutely brilliant. It's going to be a really interesting track. Who is going to dominate? I don't know. I mean, We've had two drivers dominate so far, haven't we? In the BTCC, as in like we've had obviously Ingram at Donington, as I mentioned, and then we've had Turkington at Brands, and then it's been Ash Sutton on the podium all the way through. So, but looking like a 3-way fight so far for the championship, but it's only been 2 rounds, so who knows? Who knows absolutely whatsoever? So. Speaking of the BTCC news, then let's quickly have a look at the headlines going into. We've got Thompson is back for West Surrey Racing. Big news there last week. It was Cammish pretty much saying results will come for his team, and Ingram taking the positives from the Brands weekend despite not winning a race. So let's get into our what I think is going to be very much our first news story, which is Bobby's back. Yeah, Bobby Thompson joins West Surrey Racing, joins WSR. So Zeus Cloud Racing, partnering with West Surrey Racing, well, it's going to debut at next weekend's Snetterton British Touring Car Championship. But as if you know, going into Donington, that was that one space that wasn't really filled for WSR, and the news ensures that this 4th BMW is going to be on the grid for the remainder of the season, which is brilliant, with multiple podium finisher Bobby carrying his familiar number 19 on his car. So the 27-year-old from Hornchurch, of all places, he scored 3 podium finishes in the BTCC over the past 2 seasons, and he was the 2022 Jack Sears Trophy champion. He's going to join Turkington, Morgan, and Hill, which is quite the lineup for for the BMWs. And I think you could make an argument now with Colin Turkington and Jake Hill. Adam Morgan kind of disappointed really at Brands, I think, but that they have now maybe equally a strong lineup with the Napa Racing, but the Napa Racing, they do obviously have Ash Sutton and I think the very underrated Dan Cammish, which we'll get into in a bit. So this exciting partnership with their 16-time BTCC champions marks the first foray for the series joining Zeus Cloud. So he's going to obviously carry it. But Bobby Thompson said, it's honestly a dream come true. This journey has been a roller coaster of emotions filled with relentless hard work and the tireless support of my incredible family. I'm immensely grateful for WSR for their unwavering belief in me, guiding... excuse me, sneeze. Sorry. Hay fever season. Guiding me through every step, especially during the Brands Hatch test. Add to Zeus Cloud and their visionary CEO, Mark, your support is beyond words, which is brilliant. It's something I used to only dream about. With a team that's growing stronger by the day and support that's nothing short of amazing, I'm so excited to hit the track as soon as possible come Snetterton this weekend. So, best of luck for Bobby Thompson there. But let's talk about, we mentioned Cammish, let's talk about Cammish. He says, I know the results will come. So remember, this is Dan Cammish, a man that was within a few laps of winning the championship not that long ago. And he's buoyed by the pace that he showed in last weekend's British Touring Car Championship. Who knows how well he would have done without that issue that essentially put a halt on him in the race. So he qualified as the best front wheel drive runner in third on Saturday, less than a tenth of a second of poleman Turkington. Cammish's hopes though of scoring high, Cammish's hopes were high, and I thought he was going to do a big call. Despite losing out to Sutton at the start of the opening race, he was soon back in a podium position when he passed BMW's Adam Morgan for third, followed by repassing Sutton for second. However, disaster struck. He picked up a puncture on the soft tyre, dropping him to 18th, 2 laps down. Now, a fighting drive in race 2, well, I mean, that puncture really ruined his weekend, didn't it? But Cammish, he did gain 11 places to take the checkered flag in 7th, and that saw him put 5th on the grid for the final race. Now, holding his own against a gaggle of drivers on what was, believed at the time, the faster softer tyre, he finished the race in 5th as the best driver using that medium compound runner. And he said, I'm really pleased with my performance in the car with the speed we had. That was some of the best driving I have done in terms of putting everything in place from handling the mental stresses to the starts and overtaking. He said, everything was under my control. I did as well as I could have. The car was great and super quick. Qualifying was fantastic, he said, finishing third behind 2 BMWs, which clearly had good performance this weekend. He went on to saying about really strong performance in the car in race 1 once we got going after Colin when the tyre gave up. And we're still not 100% sure why. I'm not the only one to have a tyre failure, as obviously, as we knew, Ingram and Moffat and all kinds of people had problems with those softs. He said, my recovery in that second race from 18th to 7th and then to finish 5th, surrounded by drivers on the soft tyre, was a brilliant effort. I got buoyed by that. I've got a good team, a good car. He basically says, I know results will come. And I think they will. From what was a really, really solid, when you look at it, despite the lack of good results, I think the potential was there to maybe win at least one of the races. Absolutely. So, Tom Ingrand, he's focusing on the positives. He didn't win at Brands. He did do an absolutely stunning move on, I think, in race 2 on Ash Sutton. And he normally does quite well. He hustled his Hyundai to 8th on the grid for the opening contest, and he managed to progress into 7th. In race 2, he came alive as he charged all the way up to 2nd place with that amazing move on Ash Sutton. Now, bolting the soft tyre on for the final race, he was he ended up having a front left puncture. He now sits in 3rd in that championship, which kind of sucks, really. And he said, I think deflating is a good way to sum up how the weekend finished. It's a real shame that we suffered the puncture in race 3 because until that point, things had been going well. We did struggle a bit in qualifying and race 1 with the lack of hybrid as it had a big impact. But the car was fantastic all day and we were able to show our pace in race 2. So I think Tom Ingram is mighty happy. I think he's mightily happy that the pace is most certainly there. So I'm just trying to, let's have a look and see if we can see do we have the Drivers' Championship? No, we've just got the BTCC Drivers. So, oh yeah. Excuse me, I'm just going to change change tact a bit. Here we go. So here's the current standing for the championship. We've got Ash Sutton on 95, Colin Turkington having that amazing weekend in 93, and Tom Ingrand on 85. And then it's Jake Hill on 59. Disappointing weekend for him. His steering just went, didn't he? And he went into the gravel. There's your full standings there. And since we're looking at that, let's have a quick look at the event timetable. So on the Saturday, qualifying for the mini challenge, practice, basically 2 practice sessions for the Quick Fit Touring Car Championship, and at 15:30 is the qualifying for the touring car. From the top of my head, I don't know if it clashes because it's also Monaco. It's amazing, a massive motorsport weekend, isn't it? With Monaco, the Indy 500, and Snetterton. So the big day, though, is a Sunday. So at 9:30, we've got the F4 Championship to start off with. Then we got the Porsche Sprint Challenge, the Porsche Carrera Cup, I think, of Great Britain. The Haggerty Radical Cup at 10:40. And then at 11:35 is the first Touring Car Championship. Mini Challenge at 12:15. Then we have the lunch break, pit lane walkabout and autograph session at 12:50. Slightly different at Brands, for example, it was in the morning. At 13:35, we've got the Rocket F4 British Championship again, race 2. Race 3 for the Quick Fit Touring Cars at 14:25. Just shy of half past the hour at 2 o'clock. Then the Porsches are back. The 15:05, 15:40, the Haggerty Radical UK Cup. The Mini Challenge at 20:4. And at 10:5 is that final race, the Quick Fit Touring Car Championship. Who is going to finish out on top? I have no idea. But what I do want to talk about, what I would like to talk about, as there we go. Apparently we're apparently we're heading down. We're doing another lap of Snetterton. Is a couple of the drivers. So I do think Tom Ingram is going to have a really good weekend. I've no doubt that he is, as he's already mentioned in the news story we spoke about. He's going to have I think a solid weekend. What I'd like to see is, are we going to get another win from Ronan Pearson? He's tasted the champagne now, hasn't he? In that first place, and what an emotional win it was for him in race 3, or essentially round 6 at Brands Hatch. Are we going to see more Ronan? But let's talk about this guy here. I was a bit wrong last time, but I think Rob Huff is going to have a really good weekend. Why? Well, he's had a frustrating couple of weekends, particularly at Brands Hatch, as he suffered from what he described as, I think, close quarters racing for the BTCC. And he admitted to having tried something new with Toyota Racing qualifying, and he started the opening race on the 6th row of the grid, so it wasn't particularly too bad. He said, in terms of overall outcome, Rob Huff says it was obviously a frustrating weekend. But he said, at the same time, there were lots of positives to take away. He said the Toyota felt really good in qualifying until we tried something a bit unorthodox with the tyres in Q2. That didn't quite work out, but there were all these learning experiences. He said we struggled slightly in race 1, and then on the warm-up lap ahead of race 2, the front roll bar broke. That's never good, is it? Which took away a lot of front end grip and meant the car was moving around. We battled anyway, and we were getting on really well until my rear bumper began flailing in the wind following earlier contact, and he had to box because it was dangerous. But he said it meant he started race 3 from the back of the grid, but the team did a mega job. They got the bumper fixed. He got that Corolla out. He said it felt magnificent, and we had a really good pace, and they only wish the race had gone on for another 15 laps. Ultimately, he says our current championship position doesn't accurately reflect on our performance and our potential, which I think is good. So Rob Huff, he's not even in the top 10 of the championship, is he? So bear in mind, he had a really solid race at Donington in race 3. He is a very experienced guy. I'm picking Mr. Huff to have a very good weekend in Snetterton. I think he's going to absolutely do gangbusters. I think Jake Hill needs a good weekend, and he needs a bit of luck. I think, yeah, he does. He needs a bit of luck. Does Jake Hill? That was a bit unlucky what happened to him at Brands Hatch last time out. And also, I think Dan Cammish is going to be strong amongst the usual contenders of obviously Ingram, Turkington, and Sutton. I think Dan Cammish will do quite well. He also needs a good weekend, and I think he will. So I'm thinking very good weekends from both Dan Cammish and Rob Huff. Let's see if I am right. Fingers crossed. I absolutely hope I'm right. I think I picked a good weekend for Nick Househead last time. It wasn't quite the case, although he did say on Facebook that he's a lot more confident with the car. So hopefully he's just waiting an extra race for me to be proved right. Fingers crossed. Anyway, this is not the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix of 2024. This is BTCC Snetterton preview. So ignore that headline. So we'll speak to you soon. Stay tuned here for all your BTCC news, your F1 news, your rally news, and we're hopefully going to be doing something about the Indy 500. Subscribe if you can. I would really, really appreciate that. Honestly, I do. Comment below. Let us know what you think. We will reply to all comments here. We will speak to you soon. Thank you so much. And if you made it this far, thank you. You're amazing. You are a BTCC champion in our eyes. Cheers.